The neighborhood watch became a weapon of bias when a white resident aggressively confronted a black man for looking suspicious. Confident the law would take his side, he dialed 911, claiming he was under attack. He didn't realize that the blinking red light on his chest was recording his downfall. The afternoon sun was draped over the manicured lawns of Oakwood Estates, a suburb where the hedges were trimmed to the millimeter and the silence was enforced with a quiet, expensive intensity, and Marcus was simply trying to finish his daily jog, his heart rate steady and his mind focused on the upcoming merger he was overseeing as the CEO of a major tech firm, when a silver sedan swerved toward the curb, blocking his path with a screech of tires that sent a flock of birds scattering from the nearby oaks, and out stepped Bradley, a man whose sense of community was rooted in exclusion and whose jaw was set in a hard line of unearned authority, as he demanded to know what Marcus was doing, loitering, in a private residential area, a question that was as absurd as it was insulting, considering Marcus was wearing professional athletic gear and had lived in the neighborhood for over 3 years. Yet Bradley didn't see a neighbor, he saw a threat to the sterile homogeneity of his world. And he began to hurl accusations with a practiced venom, claiming that there had been a string of unsolved break-ins, and that Marcus fit the description of the suspect, a blatant lie intended to provoke a reaction that would justify further escalation, and Marcus, well aware of the trap being set, stopped his watch and stood his ground with a level of calm that only seemed to infuriate Bradley more, as the white man began to close the distance between them, his finger jabbing the air and his voice rising into a frantic shout that drew neighbors to their porches, many of whom watched with a mixture of curiosity and conditioned bias, and Bradley, sensing an audience, took it a step further by reaching out to shove Marcus, attempting to physically move him from the sidewalk he believed he owned, and the physical contact was the spark Bradley wanted, as he immediately pulled out his phone and dialed 911. His voice switching from a roar of anger to a high-pitched, performative panic as he told the dispatcher that a large, aggressive male was threatening him and that he feared for his life, a narrative that transformed the victim into the villain in the span of a 30-second call, and as the sirens began to wail in the distance, Bradley looked at Marcus with a smug, knowing grin, telling him that his day of reckoning had finally arrived, entirely unaware that the truth was not found in his words, but in the digital record of the very technology he thought would protect him. And as the first patrol car swung around the corner, Bradley stepped into the street with his hands raised, playing the part of the traumatized victim to perfection, while Marcus remained as still as a statue, his eyes fixed on the dash cam of the police vehicle, knowing that the era of his word against mine was about to meet its high-definition end. The truth arrived with the sharp, rhythmic clicking of the officer's boots on the asphalt and the steady, blinking red lights of the body-worn cameras mounted to their chests, a technology that Bradley assumed would be his ultimate witness but would instead become his judge, and as the two officers approached, their hands hovering near their belts in response to the high-stress report they had received, Bradley began a frantic, breathless monologue of lies, pointing at Marcus and claiming that he had been casing houses, and had lunged at him when confronted. Yet the officers noticed something that Bradley's adrenaline had blinded him to. Marcus wasn't breathing heavily from a fight, he was standing in a professional athletic stance, and more importantly, Marcus was calmly pointing toward the chest of the lead officer, and then toward the smart doorbell camera on the house directly behind them, and the power shift was instantaneous when the lead officer, a veteran named Miller, held up a hand to silence Bradley and stated that they would be reviewing the bodycam footage of the interaction immediately, a statement that caused the color to drain from Bradley's face as if a plug had been pulled, leaving him a ghostly, sweating gray as he realized that every racial slur, every shove, and every fabricated detail of his 911 call had been captured in 4K resolution with clear audio. And the payoff was the absolute, crushing silence that fell over the street as Miller played back the recording on his mobile terminal right there on the sidewalk, the audio of Bradley's own voice shouting, "You don't belong here," echoing through the quiet neighborhood for all the neighbors to hear, and then justice served, was the immediate shift in the officer's focus, as Miller turned away from Marcus and walked directly toward Bradley, his expression hardening as he informed the man that filing a false police report, and initiating a physical assault were felony offenses, and the sight of the handcuffs, the very handcuffs Bradley had expected to see on Marcus, clicking shut around Bradley's own wrists, was a masterclass in poetic justice that left the watching crowd in a state of stunned disbelief, as the man who had tried to weaponize the law was now being led away by it, his victim persona shattered by the indisputable evidence of the lens, and as Bradley was ducked into the back of the patrol car. Marcus finally spoke, his voice a low, steady anchor that carried across the lawns, informing the remaining officer that he would be providing the high-speed footage from his own fitness tracker as well, a final, technological nail in the coffin of a lie that had been dismantled by the very transparency Bradley thought he could manipulate. From a wider lens, the incident at Oakwood Estates was a systemic earthquake that leveled the landscape of the neighborhood's social hierarchy, a demonstration that the old guards of prejudice were no longer safe behind their gates when the truth was backed by the impartial eye of the camera, and Marcus's experience served as a catalyst for a local legislative overhaul known as the Fair Reporting Act, which mandated severe penalties for those who used emergency services to harass or profile innocent citizens, turning his personal moment of peril into a public foundation for civil rights that ensured the Bradley mentality would carry a price too high for anyone else to pay, and the moral of this dramatic encounter was etched into the communal memory as a reminder that a badge and a uniform are meant to protect the vulnerable, not to serve the whims of the biased, and for Marcus, the victory was not personal but institutional, a confirmation that the technology he had helped develop as a tech CEO was finally being used to level the playing field for every person who had ever been told they didn't belong. And the resolution of the story was a beacon of hope for every black man who has ever seen the flashing lights in his rearview mirror and felt the cold hand of fear, a confirmation that the times are changing and that the truth is no longer a matter of opinion but a matter of record. And as Marcus continued his jog the following day, the neighbors who had once whispered in judgment now nodded in a strained but necessary respect, their eyes no longer searching for a suspect but for a neighbor they had finally been forced to see. And as Bradley's house eventually went up for sale to cover his mounting legal fees and the fallout of his ruined reputation, the neighborhood felt lighter. The sterile silence replaced by a genuine sense of accountability where the only thing that mattered was the integrity of one's actions, ensuring that the legacy Marcus built was one of open streets and shattered stereotypes, where the only thing being watched was the conduct of those who thought they were above the law. And as the sun set over the Oaks once more, the blinking red light of justice remained the only warning anyone in Oakwood Estates needed to remember that the truth is always watching, even when you think nobody is. If this story reminded you that technology is the ultimate witness for justice, share it to spread the message of accountability. Support content that highlights the importance of transparency in our communities and celebrates the moments when the truth finally forces the biased to face the reality of their own actions. Follow for more stories that center on systemic change, the power of integrity, and the satisfying moments when the handcuffs of justice finally find the right wrists. Because in the age of the camera, a lie can run a mile, but the truth is always recorded.